Hi, welcome back to Postcards from the Hedge. It is April the 9th today, and so I'm out on my daily walk, and I just walked past a beautiful specimen of Alexanders, which is just in the hedgerow round the back of my house. So I watch these come up every year, but I just thought I'd love to point this one out. So the Alexanders is a member of the Umbelliferae family, or Umbelliferous family, and you can tell that by looking at this. Come in here, look. These are what they call umbels. So when a plant has lots of small flowers that are held out on stalks of equal length, that's called an umbel, and it's got the same Latin root word as umbrella, which is how I remember it. When I look at them, they look like umbrellas in a way, with all the spines coming out. So there's loads of different umbelliferous plants in Britain, and some of them are edible and some of them are really quite poisonous. So it's good to know which are the poisonous ones. Obviously, Alexander's is actually an edible one, but I wouldn't recommend eating it until you were absolutely certain that you are identifying the right thing. I can point a few things out, but still I'd say don't rely on me, just make sure you're absolutely sure first. So some of the reasons we know that it's Alexander's is, for one thing, most of the Umbelliferae family, or the Apiaceae family actually is the Latin name for the family, most of them have a white flowers, and quite a lot of them are flat-topped, whereas Alexander's is very circular or dome-shaped, and the flowers are kind of yellowy greeny. So that's one of the indicators. Another is the shape of the leaves. So, hold on a minute, if I just put the dog down. If we look at the leaves, they generally have three of these sort of pinnately lobed leaves on the end of a stalk, and that's quite common of Alexander's. And also they're quite the shade of green. You need to get used to the shade of green as well, because they're quite dark. Later in the season, like now, they start to go a bit more yellowy, but earlier in the season they're very dark green and very sort of glossy. So that's an indicator. They have these sort of almost like hexagonal type stems on them. So they've got these flat edges to the stems. Its Latin name is Smyrnium olisatrum, and I believe the Smyrnium has got a Latin root word that refers to the fact that when it was first named, people thought it smelt a bit like myrrh. And one of the other real indicators of the Alexander is the time at which it flowers. Now, at the moment, it's been out for about a month, so you can see that it's got really quite a bit of height on it, and there's a lot of bushing out to it. But it's actually been out since sort of February. I mean, I started noticing the leaves much lower down, early February really. And so this is one of the first of the Apiaceae or Umbellifer plants that come to flower in the season. So what is it now? April, start of April. But this has been out in flower for a good month. And your other kind of famous umbellifers like the cow parsley and hemlock water dropwort and hogweed, they don't tend to come out until sort of June, July, depending on which plant it is. So this is one of the first ones you will notice in flower in Britain generally. It's quite distributed mostly around the southwest and east coasts, so it's quite a coastal kind of distribution for this plant. It was actually imported, so it's not native. It came in with the Romans. They brought it in as a food plant, and then it kind of went out of fashion as a food plant. It's got quite an aniseedy kind of taste to it. Just looking along this hedge here, I remember this hedge about 10 years ago, and there was one Alexander plant over there. So you can see the way it's kind of spreading over time. It's not completely dominating, but it has spread all the way along gradually with the seeds. But anyway, so there you go, there's Alexander's. I love Alexander's. I like seeing it because it's one of the first sort of umbellifer plants that comes out in the year. So it always makes me smile to see it. Yes, if you can find some too.